I keep seeing the same thing all over social media. Nobody wants to be a mechanic anymore because it costs $30,000 for school and then another $30,000 just for tools. And honestly, that's just not true. I've been in this industry for over 3 decades. I've built shops, trained technicians, and just recently helped my 22-year-old son get fully equipped to start his career in auto repair. His total investment, just over $5,000. And no, this isn't some bare bones, barely get by setup. This tool cart over here is loaded with mostly new tools, a few smart used buys, and everything he needs to handle real work in a professional shop. Brakes, engine, suspension, tune-up, water pumps, and more. Today I'm going to open that tool cart for you. I want to show you exactly what we bought, explain why each tool made the cut, and most importantly, what kind of work a new technician can realistically accomplish with this setup. If you're thinking about getting into auto repair industry, maybe just want a great setup for your home garage, or even if you've been scared off by bad information, this video is for you. Let's talk about what it really takes to get started. So last year, I did a video for you guys about what I thought were essential tools for every technician. Fast forward here to January 2026, and I happened to stumble upon a real-world application for what we were talking about in that essential tools video. So here we are. I've got my son, who's 22 years old. He's been working with me all year in the garage now, and he's been slowly buying himself some tools from the tool truck. He wants to build his tool collection out. He wants to be able to work on cars, maybe not even for a living, but he wants to do it down the road, at least on the side, and be able to handle his own vehicles and things. And he kept coming to me every so often. He would come into the house, and he'd say, "Hey, Dad, I bought these cool pliers. I bought this cool tool or whatever." And I felt like he was really starting in the wrong direction, let's say. So he was piecing together some expensive components that I didn't think were maybe suiting him in the best manner. So I kind of had to pump the brakes on him a little bit. And I said, you know what, I've got a great idea. Let's apply some real world stuff to your tool collection. Let me assist you. Let me help you build this tool collection out. Let's keep the cost to a minimum and not get you anything that you don't need. I didn't want him buying a bunch of tools that he wasn't going to use. And I had his experience level in mind when I did this as an entry-level technician, let's call it. And we just wanted to help him kind of build out a kit that I thought would be completely useful for him and for anybody else that's looking to get into the industry. So this is a real-world application, what I was talking about in that last video. This is something totally different, but I want to run through what we spent in here and what we bought and all the pieces he's able to get and how they can apply to an occupation in auto repair. Let's talk about the purple elephant in the room, this toolbox. This is where you really need to start. You got to have a place to put your tools. If you guys are starting off in the industry, you're going to want a mobile tool cart of some sort, and there's no reason you shouldn't go for something this size. This is going to hold a majority of what you're going to need, maybe even a little more. It really just depends on your collection. But for the price point, something like this is $599 US from Harbor Freight. You can't go wrong with this cart. I've got guys in all 3 of my shops that use these carts every day, all day long, and they're completely thrilled with them. There's nothing wrong with these carts. Now, it doesn't mean you can't have a Snap-on cart. It doesn't mean you can't have a Matco cart. You guys know, if you've seen my new cart video, my new wide power-ready Matco tool cart, I love that thing. Doesn't mean that that's bad. It just means you don't have to spend that kind of money. You don't spend $3,600 on a cart. You can spend $600 on a cart. And if I'm being honest with you, we found this cart on sale, 20% off coupon, and it was right around $500 for the cart. You cannot go wrong with this cart for that kind of money. Now, that being said, you might want to add a couple of things to it. We did that for Zack here. We went ahead and put a power strip on it. I don't know, it was 12 bucks, somewhere around there. We added this side shelf to it that's over here. This way you have a little bit of space to work where you're not working inside where all your tools are if you don't want to. On the side, we've got a couple little accessories to, hold cans and bottles, screwdrivers, a little storage tray for some small parts, and a glove box holder. So all that probably added up to another 100 bucks maybe if you're lucky. So all in, 600 bucks. For the side shelf, the cart, the accessories, the power strip. You just can't go wrong with Harbor Freight for those types of things, especially if you're working at home and you're not moving this thing all over the place all day long. And like I said, these things hold up great in the shop environment. We've had no problems with wheels falling off or anything coming apart, boxes coming loose or anything. They've been really great so far for the guys that have them. Now that we got the toolbox out of the way, let's talk about what's inside of here. Starting at the top here, we've got an assortment of pry bars, some picks. We've got a flashlight, another work light, a couple of storage bins for parts, a rubber mat here in order to put some parts and nuts and bolts in. And we've got an assortment here of batteries for the power tools, a couple of charging devices in here, and they're all plugged into this power strip, which locks neatly inside the box once the lid is closed. So, you know, the cord runs out the back, and you're able to keep some stuff charged in here overnight if your storage cart is locked and all the things are in it. On the top here, I helped Zach select what I thought he needed as far as tools, but I didn't help him lay out his box at all. I didn't help him organize his things. He did all that on his own. He went and he bought some of these really nice organizers here. They say Ernst on them. If you're interested in them, I can give you some links to those. I'll get them from Zach. But he's organized everything the way he wanted to use it, the way he uses his tools, okay? And that'll be a little bit different than the way that I use my tools. So I don't want you to think I had any influence on how he set this box up. This was all on his own. I'm just going to run through what he's got in it and what we thought he needed in it. And starting up here at the top, we've just got a ton of sockets here. Now, in the back here, we've got a bunch of these axle nut sockets, and I think they run the gamut from maybe 28 millimeter up to 36 millimeter, 39 millimeter, or something like that. So these are all in 12 point. These are great for doing axles. If you guys are doing axles and brake work, suspension work stuff, you're definitely going to need a set of those. And then we've got some impact sockets here, deep and shallow, and a 1/2-inch drive. Those things will work with all the 1/2-inch drive impact guns and things, obviously. And then he's got more assortment down here of some 3/8 drive stuff, and even all the way down to a little bit of 1/4 inch. So I'm not exactly sure what he's got going on here with his little 1/4 inch stuff and no more up top, but I think he's maybe just for impact use with his little 1/4 inch impact tools. That's probably why he's got it here. And you know, he's got his electric ratchet in here he bought from Matco Tools with some adapter on it, so he's probably using them with that as well. And of course, he's got a nice selection of pry bars on here. So I wanted to talk about the mix or the ratio of where we got these things and roughly what we spent, okay? So I've already told you this whole kit right here is just a hair over $5,000, okay? That's a, you know, cash price. We did a little mix and match of some online stuff, Amazon, a little bit of eBay, some tool truck stuff, and some used stuff. A little bit of everything mixed into this box, trying to be as efficient as we can and buying as much tools that I think that we needed in the quality range, and as well as a mixture of what I thought he would actually use, okay? So starting over on this side over here, we've got some Cornwell pry bars, and we've got all the way up to a 36-inch pry bar. Now, there are cheaper pry bars out there, but my experience has been that some of the cheaper pry bars have way too much flex in them. Cornwell makes some really quality tools. They're a little bit lower priced than some of the Snap-on and Matco things that you're going to find out there, so they're a great value, and that's what we were going for in this cart. We don't want to break the bank here. You know, Zach's a young man, and he's still trying to get his career going, and the last thing we wanted to do is blow the budget out of the water here. So that's, you know, like I said in part of the earlier part of this video, it was why I got involved in the first place. Every time he was coming home with a $300, you know, pair of pliers or something, we were starting to get a little bit out of control with the cost of buying tools. I thought there was a better way to do it. So this is my version of what I think should work. These Cornwell pry bars are awesome. They're really strong, they're sturdy, they've got a nice warranty on them, and they'll get the job done. I've also got over here a really long extension. It's a 1/2-inch drive for the gun side and 3/8 drive for the other side for doing transmission work. It's a nice extension to put some impact swivels on, get bell housing bolts out, and those types of things that are hard to reach. Up top here, Zach's got his Mac Tools magnetic rails. They just stick on the back here. They're really strong and sturdy. He likes to keep his picks hung on here, his flashlight. He's got a little tool here to do suspension work, so he can pull the control arms down by himself with a pry bar, and then a couple of these brake caliper hooks for doing brakes. And one of them's missing somewhere. I don't know where he's got it at, but it's around somewhere. And then he keeps a light up here, and he's got a couple of these little trays here that we found on Amazon. They're nice because they're magnetic. And you can throw all your parts in here and have them stick to the tray if you're using that side tray over there. Just nice to stay organized. That's, you know, one of the things I try to teach them is stay neat and organized. It'll make your job go smoother. So I told you we bought a few of these accessories from Harbor Freight. These are kind of nice. You can keep your cleaners in there. He's got his water bottle up here. He put a couple of screwdrivers on the side. He's got a tray in here. He's got some snacks in there, a couple other little bits and pieces, a little hardware, and then some holder for some rubber gloves to keep the hands clean. So it's kind of nice if you buy some of these accessories. You don't really need them locked up in your toolbox, and they give you a little bit of extra space. I think these side shelves are worth mentioning here. It's not really necessary, but it gives you a lot of extra surface space when you're working next to the car that you're working on. So, you know, we've got these DuraTech silicone mats in here, and if you watch any of my other videos, I keep a couple in my cart too. There's some off-brands you can buy as well. Name brand doesn't really matter. The important part is that you have some way to stay organized and maybe protect the work surface on here while you're throwing tools and parts up here. Little magnetic trays like these are easy to find anywhere on Amazon and just really keep you organized. So this shelf also can fold down out of the way, which is really great if you have a space issue. This thing lays flat against the side of the toolbox and just gives you some extra room when you're not working. So definitely worth a few bucks. I think they're 30, 40 bucks from Harbor Freight if you're shopping for a cart there. As I work down into this first drawer, I wanted to talk for a second about the rest of these sockets that are in here. So the majority of the sockets that we purchased are from GearWrench. Now GearWrench has been around a long time. They really make a great socket. I've got a ton of them in my own personal collections in there, and that's why I opted to use the GearWrench line for a lot of his tools in there. They've got a great price point on it. They've got a good warranty on it, and they're easy to find just about everywhere. So a lot of this stuff, I can tell you, I bought right off Amazon. You know, we probably spent half of our budget on Amazon, and besides the Harbor Freight things, we probably spent the other half of the budget on the tool trucks, buying some tool truck items on it. Some of those I told you Zack had bought on his own previously, so we'll get to a couple of those items. And then the rest of it that I mentioned to you, I bought also from maybe Matco, a couple things from Matco, a couple things from Cornwell. So just keep in mind, if you're spending money on the tool truck, it's not going to go quite as far, but the tools are obviously great quality. But I really like the GearWrench line. That's what we're talking about specifically here with most of these sockets. Now, when I showed you the stuff at the top, those axle nut sockets are from Astro. Those we purchased off Amazon. Great price on a set of those. And then the rest of these we bought from Amazon, these GearWrench sockets in sets. So I tried to buy the biggest set I could find for 1/4 inch drive, 3/8 drive, 1/2 inch drive, something that was fully encompassing, and then also a separate set for all the Torx and Allen sockets that he would need, and just to make sure that we had a complete set of sockets regardless of what he was working on. I want to make sure he had everything he needed. Now, I'm going to go back to something I've said many times in the past. Everything in this toolbox is metric. You're not going to find one American-sized socket in here. You're not going to find one American wrench inside this toolbox. Just not necessary for what we do in the automotive repair world. Working on cars probably from the last 20, 25 years at most, usually, and everything on the car in that range is usually a metric size of some sort. So it doesn't hurt to have a couple of Allen sockets in some of the American sizes just in case. It's nice to have a set, 5/16 or 3/8 or whatever, in Allen sockets. But other than that, the rest of this is all going to be metric, and you'll find that's going to cover the majority of the things you're working on. So as we look in here, you see we've got a full set of swivel sockets in 3/8 drive. We've got a full set of swivel sockets in 1/4 inch drive. These are really necessary to get in tight spots. And then we've got a great selection of 12-point and 6-point sockets in 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch drive sizes. So pretty much everything you're going to need there. He likes to keep up here. He's got a big Allen socket, probably for doing some of the differential plugs and things, and then some big Torx sockets and some of the smaller Torx sockets he likes to keep in this area here. So if you're looking here at these ratchets and things, we've also got different sizes here from 1/2 inch flex head all the way down to 1/4 inch flex head handled ratchets. These are from GearWrench, really great ratchets. They've got a nice fine tooth on them. If you buy I think they're 106 tooth or 108 tooth, something like that. They're really smooth and nice. And then again, with all the extensions on it, 1/2 inch drive extensions, 3/8 drive extensions, 1/4 inch drive extensions, and then some wobble extensions as well. If you watch any of my other videos, you probably heard me talk about those. They give you a few degrees of extra flex in the socket if you use a wobble extension. I think they're well worth having. And of course, a set of adapters. I think we bought these. They're from Nico or Texton. I'll have to look at them and see what we got here. I don't remember what the brand was. Yeah, these are Nico. So it's nice to have a full set of these impact adapters. You can put on your impact tools and change sizes up. As long as you've got a full set of impact sockets, you're in good shape to use those. I've got drawer number 2 open here. This is where Zack's got all his wrenches and tools for serpentine belts and stuff in here. So if you look, he's got a full set of combination wrenches. Now these are Matco wrenches, and he was able to find these used on Facebook Marketplace at a great price. I've also got some GearWrench midget wrenches. These are definitely worth having. If you don't have a set, I would pick some up. And then he's got another set of GearWrench long ratcheting wrenches. If you need a little extra torque, you need a longer ratchet. And they've got a nice flat profile on them. There's no angle to them. They usually have like a 15-degree bend in the head on the box end, and this one does not. So these are really nice to get some leverage on something, and not from the side, but straight. So really great assortment of wrenches to get you through most of the things you need. He's got some brake tools in here to compress caliper pistons, to clean up some brake rotors around the studs. There's a little grinding wheel here, which is kind of cool. And then he's got his Serpentine belt kit right here. And we've also got like a micro bit set on here that works with these really cool GearWrench ratchets. There's a long one here and a short one in the kit as well. So nice to do if you're working under a dash or if you have some access issues. Those little bits that sit flat inside these ratchets is really handy to have. We're gonna get in close to this next drawer, but I was gonna sit down and I thought I should talk about this little creeper cart that Zach bought. It's a My Mechanic brand. I think he got it off one of the tool trucks here. It's actually kind of neat. I know you guys have seen the one that I like to use. This is the one he likes to use. It's got some little trays here to hold some of your stuff, some storage on the shelves here, and seems to be a good profile if you're gonna sit down. All right, we're down here in drawer number 3. This is where Zach likes to keep his screwdrivers, his picks. He's got some pliers in here, some door panel tools, scrapers, and some miscellaneous stuff like his oil filter socket here. This happens to be from Tool Republic. This is a great socket for Toyota, so if you guys are doing those types of things, you should check this one out. I do have a video out there about my 5 favorite oil change tools. This made the list. That's why Zach has one. It's that good. So we're talking about screwdrivers here. This kind of started Zach off on the Cornwell path, I guess we should say, because he bought these Cornwell screwdriver set on sale. It was like 50% off. It was a really great deal. And these are really quality screwdrivers. Got a really nice feeling handle on them, and they've got some really strong hardened tips on it. They've got a bolster here on the bottom of the shaft, so that way if you need to put a small wrench on it and give yourself a little extra leverage, you can do that. So this is what got him going. He purchased these first, and then we just kind of followed up because he likes the green handles. He liked the feel of them. We just kind of followed up with some more picks for him. And then, of course, we talked about the Cornwell pry bars that we had at the top and the reason we purchased those. So he's got a nice selection of some Cornwell things, and I really like a lot of their tools. They're great, and they don't seem to be nearly as expensive as some of the Snap-on and Matco stuff. Some of it. Matco does have a lower line, the Eagle line of some sort. I think they're called Silver Eagle. And of course, Snap-on has their lower line and their Blue Point stuff. So you can certainly check out those brands. I'm not trying to steer anybody into brands, to let you know what we did in Zach's box, just to keep them in the budget that we had in mind. So these are some of the Cornwell pliers we purchased in a nice set. Again, it was on promo. So if you guys are buying stuff from the tool trucks, just keep in mind they have flyers that come out all the time. They have sales all the time. Try to take advantage of the deals they give you, because some of them are going to save you quite a bit of money, like a half off on a screwdriver set. That's really a fantastic deal, and you're getting some quality tools that'll last you a lifetime. So if you're going to buy from the tool truck, definitely try to get stuff on promo. Of course, we got a wrench here from GearWrench to take off oil filters. We've got some more of these Cornwell pliers here, needle nose, angled and 90 degree. These are from OrtoTech. These are to pull the body clips out. So he's got a straight pair and an angled pair for those. And that's kind of what we keep in this drawer. Now, we were talking earlier about, what got me involved in helping Zach put together this kit without spending a fortune. And then, one of the things he had bought were these Snap-on pliers. Now, you guys, I love Snap-on pliers. They're really great. But for him, I thought it was maybe a little bit overkill. He was coming home buying a $300 set of pliers, and you're only getting, a few pieces, 3 or 4 or 5 pieces maybe. So I thought we could do a little bit better, and we did with this Cornwell stuff when it was on promo. So just be careful how you buy stuff. I didn't want him going crazy and spending all of his paycheck on tools here, when I thought we could do a better value for him, piecing some of this stuff out with my help. So that's what we did. And then I've got here some vice grips as well. It's the Vice Grip brand, or Irwin's brand, I think it is. These are actually Vice Grip, so both brands work really well. If you're looking for vice grips, you can check out either one of those. And that's what we've got going here. Let's check out the next one. At the OrtoTech Garage, we really appreciate your support. And I just wanted to take a second to remind you, hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel so you're getting our content. Make sure you ring that bell for notifications. We release a new video every Thursday. And don't forget to share our content with your friends, family, people you think that can use this information. So we're trying to grow the channel here. We want to be able to bring you more of this stuff, and we could really use your help. If you have some information you want to leave for us in the comments, if you want to leave some comments about your own setup, we love to hear that stuff. We read through all the comments as much as we can, and we try to respond to everybody if it's possible. So thanks for your support. Let's get back to the video. In this drawer, we've got some spark plug sockets. These are, again, from GearWrench. They're nice because they got the swivel built into them, and they come in some different lengths, different sizes. We've got 9/16, 5/8 in here, so you've got a good assortment of sizes. Some of the newer cars also have the 9/16, like BMWs, with a 12-point socket. If you guys are working on those series of BMWs, you're probably going to want to pick up a 12 point as well. We've got a bunch of adapters in here in chrome now. These are different than the impact ones because they're not impact rated, but they do the job here the same as the other ones. He's got some locking extensions in here, which are also really great to have. If you guys haven't checked out the locking extensions, they have this little collar that you can pull down, and that just allows you to keep your socket from falling off the end of it. So picks and scrapers, a couple of tools to hold the hood open if they've got some bad hood lift support struts on there. So these are really great to have in the automotive garage because we see them all the time with blown struts, and people don't seem to care to fix them too often because they don't have to get under the hood, but we need a way to hold it up that doesn't hit us in the head. So we've got some of those, some unit bits, feeler gauges, spark plug gapper. Here's a nice little universal tool to spin in brake calipers if you have a parking brake built into your caliper. Of course, if that's a mechanical parking brake, not electronic. So we want to be careful if you guys are doing electronic parking brake calipers. You want to make sure you're putting those in service mode, or you have a method for retracting the piston before you try to turn them in or press them in. He's got more magnets and mirrors and things in here. He's got a couple of cool brake tools in here that I made sure he had because I like using these as well. These are great for doing rear brakes because this tool here will clamp on a spring, and then this one's here for the hold down. It works really good. So these are really inexpensive from Amazon and do a great job. We've got lots of panel type tools for doing interior work. If you need to remove a radio or something like that, popping panel clips off or panel pieces, those plastic tools are really great for that. Saves you from scratching anything or doing too much damage. And here we've got a really great little punch kit from Nico. This is a nice little set. It gives you a good assortment of everything that you'll need for punches. I shouldn't say everything, but a majority of what you'll need. You've got some basic chisels in different sizes, a center punch. You've got some roll pin punches, and then you've got some tapered punches. So this is a really good starter assortment of punches. Eventually you'll probably add to that as you need them. But it's probably a good time I should mention here that technicians will accumulate 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever thousands of dollars worth of tools over the course of their career. Okay, this doesn't happen out of the gate, and I think this is one of the misconceptions that I hear floating around the internet, is that you have to go and spend $30,000 worth of tools. And what I'm trying to demonstrate here for all of you that are looking to get into the field or looking to set up your home garage, for $5,000, you're gonna have a really nice set of stuff. And you're not gonna use a lot of the other stuff. I've made other videos about my big black toolbox and the things that I keep in there, and I talk about how I rarely go in there because that's a collection I've accumulated over decades, 35 years in the industry. And there's a lot of tools in there I just don't need anymore. And specifically all the SAE stuff, American sizes, fractional sizes, I really rarely use them all. Throughout my day, if I use them once, it's probably a lot. So it's important that you keep in mind that all of us guys that have been in the business for a long time, yeah, we have a lot of tools. We've accumulated a lot of things, but we didn't do it at the start. When I started off, I started with a Craftsman-sized toolbox just like this one. I was fresh out of college, and that's what I bought. I bought a little top and a bottom with no ball bearing slides. It was difficult to open the drawers, and I slowly started to fill it up. And that happens over the course of many years, not over a year or two even. So eventually, as you run out of space in your toolbox, you might upgrade to a bigger one. You might get a second one, however that looks for you. But I don't want people thinking that you have to go out and spend a ridiculous amount of money just to be able to work on cars, because you don't. Are there going to be some tools you'll have to run out and buy? Yes, there will be for sure at some point. And as you progress in your career, as you learn more, as you develop your skills and you get into more difficult jobs, there's going to be more diagnostic equipment you're going to have to buy if you want to do that work. But again, that happens over a period of time. This is why you see technicians that are always on a tool truck. They might spend a couple $100s a month pretty easily on tools. So maybe if that's your career path and that's what you're going to do, maybe plan on doing that, because it's a never-ending ordeal accumulating tools that you need to do the job. There's also a simple rule. We've had discussion with Zack. If you're going to borrow something 3 times, you probably should buy it. Okay, so in my shop, I have an open tool policy. Behind me, I've got my big green Matco toolbox. I happen to be in my other shop right now recording this. Normally, we're in a different shop when I do my videos, but this one here, I'm here because this is where Zack's working at. And I happen to have a full tool collection at all 3 of my shops. So again, it's not something you have to do. I do this because I need my technicians to have everything they need to get the job done. If I come and work at any of my shops, I can't bring all my tools with me. So I have a full collection of tools at each shop. And I only really buy what I need for those shops, so we make sure that everybody has what they need to get the jobs done. So wherever you're working, hopefully you've got somebody you can lean on if you need to borrow a tool to finish a job. But if you get into that rule where you're, 1, 2, 3 times you had to borrow the same tool, maybe it's time to consider purchasing it on your own. It seems like something you might want to add to your collection because you're using it frequently. Down here in this 5th drawer, we've just got an assortment of hammers in here. It's got a nice tire pressure inflator and gauge, digital gauge, and plus he's got here this nice Ingersoll titanium impact gun. He was able to find this used on Marketplace. Really great shape, and it was probably a third of the price of a new one. So nice to have an air impact tool. Also, I know if you guys are into electric tools, I've been slowly converting my collection to that, but it's nice to have a 1/2-inch drive impact gun. They're pretty much a staple in any shop. So dead blow hammer is great to have. This is made by Nico. These are really nice. You should have one of those in your collection. A rubber mallet, ball peen hammer, and sledgehammer assortment. These are all from Amazon. They're really decent quality. Hammers get tore up over years, especially if you have a fiberglass or wooden handle. At some point, you're gonna snap the head right off it. So, like these molded plastic and metal combination here, they seem to hold up a little bit better. And he's also got a couple of scrapers here. They're kind of neat because they're plastic scrapers to keep you from scratching aluminum components. So, a lot of engines nowadays are made out of aluminum. The oil pans, even the engine blocks, and if you have a nice assortment of plastic scrapers, it really does a good job of keeping those from getting scratched. All right, so down in this bottom drawer, he's got some of the collection of sockets that we purchased that he doesn't use very frequently. So this is kind of the rest of the set of Allen and Torx bits, and you can see there's a large kit here, and especially these long ones are really handy to have when you need them, but you don't use them all the time. So he's got them down low where they don't need to be reached for all the time. And some of these inverted Torx sockets, you see them a lot on European cars. These are nice to have, but again, not something that he uses on a regular basis, so he didn't see any need to put them up top. Okay, and then we've got a little bit more here down below. If I get down here, I want to show you a couple of items. This here is a quick disconnect tool set. So when you're doing radiators and air conditioning work and transmission cooler lines and those types of things, there's going to be some sort of quick disconnect on a lot of these cars, and you want to make sure you have a decent assortment of tools to be able to handle that. I really like these little white things. They seem to work really good. They're very inexpensive. You can even get a set of just those. These are always nice for a lot of cars, but you're going to run into something. Make sure you have what you need for your car. You're going to see them on fuel lines and air conditioning lines and transmission lines, and anything that's got a hose connection on it, they usually have some kind of quick coupler on it. In this kit, we've just got an assortment of brake spring tools. So this is for doing drum brakes on just about any car. That the older cars all had drum brakes on them, or a lot of the older cars had drum brakes on them. Not as much anymore, but when you need the tools, you need them. So some star wheel adjusting tools here, hold down spring tools. That's what these are. And then we've also got the shoe spring tools here to get these off and put them back on. So you'll need something to do that if you're working on drum brakes, and there's lots of springs in there. So make sure you have some assortment like this one. These are pretty inexpensive from Amazon. In here, we've got an impact driver set. Now, these are really important if you're doing disc brakes on a lot of cars, especially the imports. They've always got some kind of a screw holding the rotors on. They usually have some sort of a tapered head on the screw that sits tightly. So having an impact driver will help you remove those things without stripping them. So that's what this is. And this one's actually a snap-on tool. This is another something he found online, Marketplace or something, for sale. That was a really great price and in really great shape. You also want to have something like this. This is a disc brake caliper tool. Now, we talked about that little cube that we had a couple of drawers up. This one takes it to another level. This one has the tool that fits inside the caliper, helps apply a little bit of pressure while you're twisting the pistons in. So if you guys are doing disc brake work on most rear brakes nowadays that are, four-wheel disc, they're going to have some kind of a parking brake feature usually built into the caliper if it's not inside the brake rotor itself. So you want to make sure you have some kind of tool to press those pistons back in, or to turn those pistons back in is what I should say. Here's another tool. If you're working in the garage, it's important that you have yourself a little engraver, I think anyway. In our shops, we don't worry about it so much, but depending on where you're working, who you're working with, it's nice to have your tools engraved. And if you notice, I made Zach go through all his tools. He spent hours doing it and engraving his initials on there to make sure he knows what's his and what's not. So, a lot of times it's not even intentional. You have the same socket as somebody else, 3 other guys in the shop, and obviously it's the 10 millimeter is always disappearing. If you got your initials on it, just makes it easier. You know it's yours. So, not necessarily because somebody's stealing your tools, but maybe you just want to identify what's yours and what's not. Or if somebody finds your tool on the floor, they'll know it's yours. It's got your initials on it. So, I think it's a really good idea to buy one of these. This one's by Dremel, and really easy to spend the time once when you buy a new tool, spend a few minutes if you purchase something, put some initials on most of your components there. This way, if something disappears, it'll make its way back to you. Down here, we've got an assortment of brushes for cleaning materials, battery post brush for cleaning up battery terminals. These little cookies work well with these angle die grinders. When you have one of these die grinders, you'll use that with the little adapter he's got in here to clean gaskets and things. So really great to have a tool like this with some of these twist lock cleaning cookies. I think these are probably 2-inch or something like that. So these are really useful in the shop. Just be careful where you use them. They come in different textures, different grits basically, and be careful using them on aluminum stuff because they will remove some material. Next thing we've got in here is an assortment of some oxygen sensor sockets and thread chasers. So if you're doing oxygen sensors, it's nice to have these. They all have a little bit of a slot in them so the wire can pass through, and a couple of different lengths for access. And then of course, it's nice to have the size to clean up the threads in the hole. A lot of time these oxygen sensors, they kind of get stuck in there. They're in an area where they're susceptible to a lot of rust and things. So sometimes you'll run a thread chaser through it just to clean them up. This kit's kind of nice because it's inexpensive and it comes with the tools you need to get those things cleaned up and installed properly. So nice little kit from OrtoTech. Of course, he's got a small assortment here of some impact tools from Milwaukee. Now, these tools are stuff I had spares laying around the house, so I just kind of gave them to him. But he's also purchased his own. He's got a nice little 3/8 Milwaukee stubby impact. I know if you guys have watched my stuff, I made a video about that tool. I absolutely love it, and I know Zach does too, so he purchased his own. This tool is an older version that's less powerful, a little bit less useful. So he's got the good one up top there. I think we showed you in the beginning of the video. And just nice to have some extra M12 cordless tools. And he's got a little bit of a code reader here. This is great if you're checking cars to see if they're ready to pass smog, checking the monitors, clearing codes, and just retrieving codes. So something inexpensive like this. I think these are probably 20, 25, 30 bucks or something. It's always great to have a code reader at your disposal. So he's got one here for doing that. All right, I hope you can see here that we didn't break the bank necessarily trying to set him up with a great selection of tools. Now, you guys are seeing these giant rollaways. This is a $15,000 toolbox empty. Until you put tools in it, you could spend 35, 40 grand. Now, this is my collection and this is Zach's collection. I'm 35 years in the business and this guy here is, less than a year in the business. So just trying to point out here that when you're watching these videos out there and people are telling you how much you need to get started in this industry, I want to debunk that whole notion. I don't think that's true at all. And of course, you'll be buying the pieces that you need. If you're working in a truck shop, it may look different than Zach's setup here. You'll have some heavy duty tools and some different type stuff, but make sure you get what you need and shop smartly, okay? So I also wanted to talk for a quick second. I'm going to make another video on this probably about the $30,000 education that you need to go to UTI or something like that. ATI we have in our local area, and go and spend a year learning all this stuff. Now, that's not necessarily true either. I think it's a great way to get a foundation if you have the money, but don't think you got to go to school for a full year to become an automotive technician. Zach's been with us for just under a year now. He's learning on the job, getting through all the jobs. Now, it takes a tremendous amount of work to take a young guy that doesn't know anything and turn him into somebody that can actually perform and do the tasks. There's no short learning curve for that. The only way to get through that is time, reps, and somebody that's motivated and willing to learn what's being taught to them. So you have to have the aptitude, of course, the mechanical aptitude. You got to be able to figure things out and know how they work and have a good mechanical understanding of parts in general, things, how they fit together and how they work, solving puzzles and those types of things. So if you have that aptitude, there's no reason you can't go into a shop, start off as a lube tech, and work your way up. A lot of guys are doing that. You're going to need to supplement whatever you're learning in the garage with some actual learning at home, though. A lot of people think you have to go to school to learn something. Now, we all know, college is great at teaching you a lot of things, but even when you're done with college, you got a 4-year degree, you're going to go into your field and you're going to start at the bottom like everybody else does. And then you're actually going to learn the ropes. And this job is not any different. If you go to UTI or one of these schools, you're going to spend a year there, you're going to come work for me maybe, and you're starting at the bottom again. You don't come in as a master tech. Nobody does. It takes years and years and years to do that. I can tell you, for the average guy out there, you'll spend 10 years in this business probably before you can really call yourself a master technician, okay? It's at least 10 years or longer, some guys. So it just really depends on your aptitude, how hard you work, and how much time you put in at home. You want to go through and learn some stuff. Buy some books and materials if you need to. Watch YouTube videos of some reputable people that know what they're talking about. Those things go a long way, but it's not enough just to watch. You got to put that stuff into practice. So if there's something in particular you're trying to learn, spend some time on that from multiple sources and try to take some notes and gather your information and study it like you would as if you were in school, okay? It's an easy way to do that. There's lots of guys that can learn on their own, lots of people, guys and gals, I should say, that can learn on their own. So don't be afraid to try to learn something after work. That's what it really takes to get to the top in this business, to make it to a master technician and to be somebody that's constantly progressing. This industry is getting more and more complicated as the years go on. We've got a lot of electronics involved, a lot of new systems that are coming out with all the ADAS features, advanced driver assistance systems. We're talking about lane departure systems and backup cameras and forward-facing cameras, intelligent laser cruise control, all these types of things, stuff we didn't have 15, 20 years ago, adding a lot of complexity to the car. So it's important that you're able to learn and adapt on the fly, because this job we're always learning. So I don't want to beat this to death. I just kind of wanted to touch on that here about the $30,000 education, $30,000 worth of tools. Neither one of them are necessary to get started in this business. You'll make out of it what you want to make out of it. Come in, be a good employee, be on time, work hard, try to learn from everything you do, pay attention to your work, stay clean. All those things go a long way to building your career as quickly as you want to build it, okay? So thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys learned a little something. I hope I've debunked a little bit of the myths out there about how much money you need to get into this business. It's not true. And make sure you find a good place to work. I think it's another important thing. I hate to see you guys out there in the wrong environment. You get discouraged and then you're out of the business, because we need technicians in this industry. So if you love this kind of work, I'd say go for it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video here. Don't forget, we got tons of other content for you. Make sure you check out some of that stuff. We appreciate you following the OrtoTech Garage. We'll see you in the next one.